Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GBNews, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends.
Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight,
the failures that happened then are still happening now.
That was Maggie Oliver speaking last year, and it seems she's still right, as the Met Police have chillingly reopened 9,000 potential rape gang cases in London. This comes the same week that Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, was accused of an industrial-scale cover-up of the epidemic in our capital. I'm going to reveal all. Also,
it is an absolute disgrace that this incompetent Labour government has allowed this dangerous man out onto our streets.
Yeah, it's migrant manhunt madness, isn't it? As women across London this evening will be looking over their shoulder, how on earth has sexual predator Hadush Kabatu still managed to stay on the run? Also,
let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?
Yeah, that, my friends, is your new Labour deputy leader. And in a week characterised by the rape gang inquiry scandals, is Labour membership totally out of touch with society? And yes, UKIP held a protest in London today, with police intervening to separate their protest and a separate counter-protest in Whitechapel. We'll bring you exclusive footage. And the Prime Minister has pledged £10 million to protect British Muslims, but addressed men and women separately. Is this deeply un-British? Should have Keir Starmer chosen a neutral location? And Reform-led Nottinghamshire County Council is set to spend 75 grand on 164 new flag installations across several locations in the county. We'll be asking if this is a good use of taxpayer money. And joining me this evening is former Labour advisor Paul Richards, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley and political commentator Laura McEvitt. What do you think is happening here? Interesting stuff. Your Saturday night is just getting started, but first, let's get to your news.
Thank you very much, Alex. Good evening to you. 9:02 here in the GB newsroom. The Met Police is urging a migrant sex offender to turn himself in, having been mistakenly released from prison on Friday. Hadush Kabatu, an Ethiopian national, boarded a train from Chelmsford to Stratford yesterday and is now at large in London. He was freed weeks after being convicted of assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl while living at the Bell Hotel in Epping, which sparked nationwide protests. The Prime Minister says his accidental release is totally unacceptable. The Met Police Commander, James Conway, says his force is pursuing all possible lines of inquiry.
He has since made a number of train journeys across the London area. We believe he has access to funds, and critically, in both Chelmsford and London, we believe he has sought assistance from members of the public and has spoken to station staff. If you've had any direct contact with him or are currently providing him with assistance, we are very keen to hear from you.
Lucy Powell says Labour must be bolder and has urged the party to mount a fiercer fight against Reform UK. The former Commons leader, who was sacked in Sir Keir Starmer's reshuffle last month, won 54% of the vote to become the new deputy leader of the Labour Party. She beat the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson. She replaces Angela Rayner, who stepped down over her tax affairs last month. In her victory speech, Ms Powell said she will try to wrestle back the political megaphone from Nigel Farage.
People feel that this government is not being bold enough in delivering the kind of change we promised. I'll be a champion for our Labour values and boldness in everything we do. And I know that you, Keir, as our leader, you want that too, and I will be your ally in that fight. It starts with us wrestling back the political megaphone and setting the agenda more strongly. Because let's be honest, we've let Farage and his ilk run away with it.
The independent candidate, Catherine Connolly, has been declared the 10th President of Ireland after a landslide election victory.
I hereby declare Catherine Connolly elected to the office of President of Ireland.
Well, the left-wing candidate won 63% of the vote. That's more than double the government's pick Heather Humphreys received. She earlier conceded defeat. The 68-year-old Connolly, who was backed by an alliance of left-wing opposition parties, enjoyed the support of many younger voters. She replaces Michael D. Higgins, who's held the role since 2011, and she's vowed to be a voice for peace during her presidency, which runs for 7 years.
Together, we can shape a new republic that values everybody, that values and champions diversity, and that takes confidence in our own identity, our Irish language, our English language, and the new people who have come to our country. I will be an inclusive president for all of you, and I regard it as an absolute honour, the vote I have been given.
Donald Trump says he'd like to meet the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, on his upcoming trip to Asia. The US president will have talks with a number of world leaders during visits to Malaysia, Japan and South Korea, including a scheduled meeting with China's Xi Jinping. That's likely to be a challenging discussion following the imposition of sweeping tariffs earlier this year, and Trump has threatened further tariffs on China. Now, back in 2019, he became the first sitting US president to set foot in North Korea when he crossed the demilitarized zone for a meeting with a leader he previously referred to as Little Rocket Man. But he says contacting North Korea's secluded society is challenging.
The last time I met you, and I put it out over the internet that I'm coming to South Korea. If you'd like to meet, I'm open to it, certainly. We had a very good... Yeah, I'd do it. And if you want to put out the word, I'm open to it. You know, they don't have a lot of telephone service. They have a lot of nuclear weapons, but not a lot of telephone service. So I'm open to it. I had a great relationship with him, and he probably knows I'm coming, right?
The first illicit factory for weight loss jabs has been discovered in the UK and dismantled. Drugs worth £250,000 were seized from the facility in Northampton. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has described the warehouse as shameless and dangerous and warned people not to buy weight loss injections from unregulated sources. Finally, parents in the UK are being urged to vaccinate their children against flu over half-term, as health officials have warned the virus can spread like wildfire. England's Chief Nursing Officer Duncan Burton says flu's hit early this year and there's been a worrying rise in cases among children. Pop-up clinics will be set up so children can get those jabs at fire stations, bowling alleys and also at local pharmacies. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 10.
Chillingly, 9,000 potential rape gang cases have been reopened in London. I'm not going to let this go, Mayor Sadiq Khan, because I think this is a disgusting cover-up of the rape of children in London, and I think it's more prolific here in the capital than anywhere else in the country. For years now, Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London and the Metropolitan Police insist London had no and has no grooming gangs, unlike Rotherham or Rochdale. Sadiq Khan has dodged questions 9 times in the Greater London Assembly, dismissing concerns as false or politically motivated. In prior questions, the Mayor even resorted to dodging rape gang questions by throwing about his religion and ethnicity.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for your misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If you could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
Every time I see that clip, it makes me angry. I don't know about you at home, but it makes me really angry. Now, a chilling letter from the Met Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, dated October the 24th this year, reveals the force is reopening 9,000 suspected grooming gang and child exploitation cases from the past 15 years. 9,000 of them. That is not a typo. It is an admission of catastrophic failure sparked by relentless pressure from journalists investigating and exposing the scale of the rape of our capital. I have spoke about it on this show and many other shows so often on GB News. I can't believe it's taken this long. Was it the London is open or diversity is our strength mantras that blinded the Met and the City Hall, perhaps? Well, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philpin has called Khan's denials shameful, accusing him of facilitating a cover-up. Whistleblower Maggie Oliver, who exposed Rochdale scandals, slammed the Met and Sadiq Khan.
Reflects exactly what I've experienced in relation to Rochdale and Rotherham and Telford, that there is a repeated denial of this kind of crime until it absolutely hits them in the face and they can no longer escape from the truth of what's going on.
Yeah, well, the Met's own data shows 716 active child sexual abuse cases and 654 child criminal exploitation reports since April 2025. Let that sink in for a second. This U-turn follows a Home Office review and a delayed national inquiry announced by the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, in June. He reported networks in Tower Hamlets, Croydon and Westminster, only to be, well, this whistleblower claims to be stonewalled and threatened with losing his home, his job, and his kids if he spoke out. A survivor called Khan's dismissals disgusting, warning they could drive victims to suicide. If there is even a single case of rape gangs confirmed in London, Sadiq Khan and the Met Police's constant denial of their existence will be at the bare minimum, in my opinion, abysmal and negligent mismanagement, and at the most, an alarming cover-up of one of the biggest scandals to face our country in almost a century. Let's get the thoughts of my panel on this breaking story. Former Labour advisor Paul Richards, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, and political commentator Lauren McEvitt. Peter, I'll start with you because, of course, this being in the force yourself, you'll have a good understanding of how things work. So there are many reports we've done on GBNews about potential grooming gangs in London. There is a retired detective who's done a lot of work, and he's claimed he's got a handbook full of stories about young girls he believes have been part of grooming gangs. But for time and time again, the Met have claimed there were none. And now they've opened 9,000 cases. How on earth has this happened?
And, of course, there is the wonderful Maggie Oliver, who we saw in your segment not so long ago, who has done more for victims than anybody else in this nation. The history of many of these very challenging cases is that policing, up until quite recently, would have a child, a girl, go missing from care, for example. So, of course, the authorities would report that child as missing. And the police would deal with it as a missing person thing. Sometimes these children were retrieved, recovered, found, discovered in all kinds of very, very unsavoury situations, surrounded by people, adults, that they shouldn't be. Alcohol, drugs, and so it goes. But what did the police do? They went for the easy tick box option. So, return the child to care, job done. No thorough investigation as to what are all these men doing in this room, what's that empty bottle of vodka all about, what are those packet of Rizlas to do with? None of that. And so this has been allowed to grow and grow and grow, and thank goodness now the lid is being blown firmly off it. Heads must roll.
Yeah, Paul, you know, we were talking about this, I think, last week or so, where we were saying, you know, that Khan has said there's no evidence of rape gangs in London. He didn't say there wasn't any evidence of child sexual abuse, might I add, or child sexual exploitation, but he's explicitly on grooming gangs. We've had utter denials out of City Hall. I think when you look at Sadiq Khan's behaviour in some of those clips, it seems exceptionally defensive. There's another clip that's been circulating of a time when he was being challenged by David Curtin, a former London Assembly member, where he does use his race and ethnicity to try and block answering the question. Why is there such a defensiveness about this issue from politicians? I don't care what colour, creed or whatever they are, but surely the British public deserve answers.
Well, the public do deserve answers. I think that's why we're getting a national inquiry. And yes, it's had troubles with its makeup and its timings, but we are getting one. And I would hope it would include London. I mean, the idea that London is somehow immune to this horrific kind of incidents we're talking about is nonsense. It's a major city, and there will be these gangs and there will be this abuse taking place in London, just as surely as in other cities, alas. I mean, I defer always to Peter's direct experience of policing. And the point he made about the police's role, I think, is well made from experience. And from my point of view, it seems to me that, yes, ethnicity is a factor, of course, but so is power and so is class. And often it's young, white, working-class girls just being routinely ignored by the system.
And Lauren, again, you know, I don't want there to be this illusion that I think it's somehow worse in London, but other places we at least now have acknowledged the existence of grooming gangs, where they've acknowledged they've existed. There have been some attempts at arrests, but that has not been the case in our capital city, which I think is shocking. It's our largest city, of course, millions more than anywhere else, and yet there's been this constant denial that it's happening here in London. I think that, for me, is a really big problem when you look at some of the victim accounts and they go, why are we just being ignored in the capital city?
Well, I think there's been denials from the political leadership of the city. We've seen, obviously, the policing leadership reopen cases and begin to take a much more serious look at how things have been addressed over the course of the last 15 years. I think anybody who's ever done any work on the concept of county lines or the movement of drugs or the movement of organised crime across the United Kingdom knows that a city the size of London will not only not be immune, but because of the sheer number of people here, will be a larger problem than elsewhere in the country. But a large portion of the way that Sadiq Khan was handling that questioning was what he was trying to do was to get Susan Hall to make an allegation against a particular demographic. And because actually we don't know the demographics involved in who was orchestrating anything in London at the moment.
I'll hazard a guess.
But smart of her to avoid the topic so that Sadiq Khan's immediate response isn't only, you're a racist.
Peter?
Yeah, I'll hazard a guess at the demographic of that, and I suspect that many of it in London will be reflected, as it has been elsewhere in the UK, men of Pakistani origin. The trouble is, young white girls have been routinely called promiscuous trash and the such like when they have been exploited, repeatedly raped, drugged and fed alcohol and the such like. It is an absolute disgrace, and what is even worse is that to a certain extent they are still being treated appallingly because this stumbling inquiry, which your lot, your party, resisted for ever and ever and ever, and included Lucy Powell accusing Tom Montgomery of a dog whistle, that was a window into the soul of your party when it comes to this kind of very, very serious crime, and somebody really needs to get a grip on this massive stain upon our once great nation.
But we are getting now the inquiry, aren't we? And that has to work. I mean, that's the most important.
It's falling apart this
well,
week. It's falling apart.
You can't treat all the victims the same. They've got differing views, and 5 of them have come forward and said they'll only take part if the minister's involved, and others have said they won't take part if the minister's involved.
Gang victims. That's part of the problem.
We have
say. I mean, there's misleading headlines going around. Some of them saying that the Guardian put out, I think, a misleading headline, which would suggest that they were all grooming gang victims. Well, we know.
No, sure, and that wouldn't be. I mean, the Guardian getting it wrong would not be the first time, would it? But the point is, surely, for the victims to get the justice they demand and some kind of resolution, you've got to get this inquiry up and off the ground. And it's hard. You know, it is difficult. No government's managed it yet. This one's trying.
Well, no, hang on.
Finding the right chair, finding the right ways to give people a platform and a voice, and getting the justice they demand, and then ultimately banging up the perpetrators and putting them in prison. This is hard, but the government is trying to do it.
Very briefly, Lauren.
So in a previous life, I was obviously a special advisor. We had the Waterhouse inquiry resurrect itself in around 2012, 2013. We got the McCurr review up and running and funded across 3 government departments in 72 hours.
Wow, there you go.
So
where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Listen, I think if any politician of any creed or any political colours is found guilty or somehow complicit in covering up this scandal, there should be heads rolling for it. I really do. And a spokesperson for the Metropolitan Police has said this: "We are utterly committed to protecting vulnerable children and bringing those responsible to justice. Our data shows that group-based child sexual abuse and exploitation picture in London is more varied than other parts of the country and does not neatly align with patterns of methodology, ethnicity or nationality seen elsewhere and reported on extensively." A spokesperson for the Home Office has said, we have initiated a new policing operation, Operation Beacon Port, overseen by the National Crime Agency, which has already flagged more than 1,200 closed cases of group-based child sexual exploitation for review. A spokesperson for the Mayor of London said, "Any individuals or gangs exploiting children for sex are utterly abhorrent. Sadiq is quite clear that they must face the full force of the law. These children have not only suffered terrible abuse at the hands of their perpetrators, but have been woefully let down by the authorities meant to protect them from harm." All right, well, there you have it, everybody. Moving on to a bit of a 180 here, because it's time to take you for your chance to win the biggest cash prize and our giveaway of the year. You can drive away with a brand new motorhome and 30k in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Someone is guaranteed to win our biggest prize to date, so make sure that winner could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, good luck, everybody. Coming up, the Labour Party have a new deputy leader who famously said this.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
Oof, not a good start. But next, the Prime Minister has pledged an extra £10 million to protect British Muslims. But should he have made the address somewhere more neutral? I'll tell you why. Next, this is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, the Prime Minister has pledged an extra £10 million to protect Muslim communities from hate crimes following his visit to Peacehaven Mosque in East Sussex, the site of a recent suspected arson attack. Well, during the visit, the Prime Minister met with community members, but men and women appeared to be kept separate from one another. As the government reaffirms its commitment to religious freedom, it must be asked, can Britain call itself tolerant if some ceremonies and community events remain gender segregated? Or is it simply an adherence to legitimate religious practices? Well, we are now joined by women's rights campaigner Khadija Khan and litigation lawyer Mahtab Aziz. Thank you both for joining me this evening. Khadija, I'll start with you. I think many people will be arguing that the Prime Minister, as a representative of all of Britain, should have at least held made this announcement in a neutral space if men and women couldn't be sat together. But of course, many on the Muslim community will argue that was the respectful thing to do inside a mosque.
Thank you so much, Alex, for having me.
on your show to discuss this matter, which has been brushed under the carpet for so long. In this country, treating people less favorably because of their gender is a form of direct discrimination and is unlawful. The event where the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary visited the mosque on an official tour to address the concerns of Muslim communities revealed a troubling issue here. Women and girls were excluded from the discussion and pushed into a corner. However, the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary seemed entirely content with this marginalization, effectively erasing women's voices and presence from the discourse. This exclusion is concerning aspect of our society that I have said earlier, that it is increasingly aligned with certain aspects of Sharia compliance. It is alarming that some elements of Sharia, such as gender apartheid, have become normalized within British society, a fact that these British politicians do not appear to deny or challenge anymore. Therefore, in addition to being un-British and unlawful, it is comparable to caving into religious fanatics who use the pretext of religious modesty and respectability to oppress and erase women's presence and violate their rights with impunity. It is blatant manifestation of religious misogyny and gender apartheid, and attempting to make peace with it. It is not only un-British and unlawful, but cruel. It is misogynistic and unfair.
Well, yeah, very strong words there from Khadija Khan, Mahtab. What do you have to say to Khadija's statement there? Because many people will agree with her when they see the Prime Minister addressing men by themselves and the women, as you can see in some of the pictures, are kept in a corner. Many British people will go, I can't believe that's happening in 2025. What do you make of that?
Sure, Alex. Yes, thank you for having me on your show. And, well, we need to clarify a couple of points. First of all, there's a difference between how a mosque conducts its prayer time and how events should be conducted. This is a Christian country, but even in Christianity, that same separation was apparent. Jesus himself told that to his disciples, and that was carried on for many years. It may have changed now, but that was actually some Christians actually still believe in that segregation, as far as going into a church and praying is concerned. Now, the reason why that happens in Islam is for the same reason. It's actually out of respect for women, not to denigrate them or treat them less favorably. It's actually out of respect, because the thinking behind it is that if women are in the same room praying, that may be some form of distraction, may distract people from actually concentrating on their prayers. So it's really out of respect for women that mosques will actually segregate men and women, although they can be in the same hall. And of course, this is the same true for Judaism. In Orthodox Jewish faith, women are also, in fact, there's actually a physical barrier between men and women, which is not apparent.
Mahtab, if I may interject just briefly, Mahtab, because of course when the Prime Minister was sitting down, he wasn't praying with them, he was having a discussion about policy, about safety. The women were kept separately from that and they weren't addressed. Do you think that's appropriate for a British Prime Minister to do?
Well, I did see in that particular photograph you just displayed, there was actually another woman there apart from the other minister. So I'm not quite sure how the mosque arranged it, but if it's an event, then there shouldn't be any segregation at all.
OK, I'll pass it back over to you, Khadija.
I knew that I'm going to be lectured about how other religions segregate boys and girls, and my response to this, argument is that I do not condone any form of religious misogyny, no matter what the religion is. Misogyny, when it comes from religious discourse, is not only tolerated, even celebrated in certain section of our society, and it is a sad reality for all of us as a society. I say that this is normalization of Sharia compliance when in our society, when these kind of misogynistic attitude, they come out of the religious places and become a norm in the wider society, as we saw when the girls and women, girls above 12-year-old and women were excluded from an event which was labeled as an inclusive and family event and hosted by a mosque, and it was in a public place. And likewise, the event when the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary, they visited the mosque, it was not a personal setting, it was a public event in which official matters and the concerns of the communities were discussed. So I think the normalization of misogyny in any context is regrettable. And I want to ask this question, that this kind of segregation in such religious setting reinforces damaging gender stereotypes and does nothing to promote equality and respect between boys and girls. Since when pandering to religious fundamentalism has become a way to more open, tolerant and peaceful society? We need to be asking this question more often now, given the current circumstances.
Why don't we hear what Mahtab has to say about that? Mahtab, what do you make of that statement there?
Well, I mean, as I said, in certain situations to do with prayers and that sort of thing, yes, all the three major monotheistic Abrahamic religions have the same attitude and viewpoint. When it comes to anything else, for instance, if there's a major event or anything, then of course there shouldn't be segregation.
Yeah, because I guess the outrage here, Mahtab, is that, you know, the Prime Minister's making a political statement. It's not something like a religious ceremony. Therefore, men and women should be included. Do you think it's un-British to separate men and women?
Well, I mean, this is a Christian country, and if you look at the Bible does itself say that when in churches, men and women should be separate. So if it's a Christian country and you advocate Christianity, then you have to follow your religion then.
Okay, well,
we have to be honest here. I would like to say something. We have to be honest here. First of all, this is a society which is a largely secular society, and there are people, growing number of people who are not religious in the society. So let's not make it like this is a Orthodox Christian country. And secondly, I would say mosques are notorious for pushing women into dingy, dark corners, and this is not happening like in the churches so often as we see. So I think this is not a fair comparison between the religion. And even if it happens across the religions, that we need to condemn it, and we should not be, just sugarcoating any event that is taking place in public discourse, and there were women and girls being discriminated against. And I would say that without undermining women's and girls' right to live with dignity and not to be coerced and forced into wearing black shrouds, I think that is another issue that was presented there. That was the elephant, I would say,
Khadija, I'm sorry.
When the girls were covered all in black shrouds and boys were wearing Western clothing. I think that is blatant manifestation of religious misogyny that needs to be condemned and called out.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Unfortunately, we have to leave the debate there. I'd love to have this discussion again with you both. Thank you very much for joining me. Khadija Khan and Mahtab Aziz, thank you both very much for joining me this evening. It's a very important discussion we're having. We are seeing the rise of sectarianism across the country, and I just think if the Prime Minister is going to make a political statement and a gesture, he should do it in an environment where British people can look around and go, well, that is at least fair play. But I think when men and women are being separated, it's going to cause a backlash, and I think Khadija has nailed that. Anyway, coming up, UKIP were protesting in London today, but next.
We are now in the fight of our lives, and we really are. Not for ourselves and our fortunes, but for the future of the country and democracy.
Well, Lucy Powell is the new deputy leader as Labour is dealt a devastating defeat in carefully by-election. This is Alex Armstrong, of course, only on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's the start of half-term for many of us, but I'm afraid there's showers and some longer spells of rain in the forecast, particularly across parts of Iberia and southeastern Europe. Portugal and Spain could see some showers as we head through into Sunday. These could be heavy, possibly thundery. A mix of sunshine and showers elsewhere across northern parts of Europe, but it is going to be feeling much cooler than of late. Some brighter spells across southern parts of France, northern Europe, but elsewhere it is going to remain unsettled. More sunshine into next week, as well as some warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's been chilly for many of us today, a cold northerly wind, and it generally stays that way tonight. And then we see cloud and rain moving in from the northwest through tomorrow. Looking at the bigger picture, low pressure sat to our east, high pressure to our west, a northerly flow bringing frequent showers to many of us. This evening we can see them pushing southwards across England and Wales, clearing skies though behind it, so it turns quite chilly across central and northern parts of the UK overnight, but blustery around the coasts with further showers. Temperatures here 4 or 5 Celsius, but are getting close to freezing in the countryside across northern England, southern Scotland, where the winds will be lightest. But it does mean a bright start, particularly across England and Wales first thing, but Scotland's seeing the cloud move in as the weather system approaches in the west. Outbreaks of patchy rain, showers still on a brisk northerly flow down the eastern side of Scotland, clouding over across Northern Ireland. Sunday morning, rain arriving here. Showers still for western parts of Wales and England, but central and eastern parts of England are chilly but sunny start to the day. Any frost patches soon clearing. And then slowly through the morning we'll see the cloud and rain push its way slowly southeastwards, introducing the rain into the Midlands by lunchtime. Southeast England holding on to the sunshine for longest, but clouding over here through the afternoon and patchy rain arriving later. The wind still coming in from the northwest, so fairly chilly day. Temperatures 9 to 12 Celsius for most of us, and with the lack of sunshine it will be fairly chilly. That pushes away as we go into Monday, and then showers follow, so a showery day on Monday. The wind's still coming in from a northwesterly direction. Further outbreaks of rain likely across western areas, but in between there will be some sunny spells trying to develop and temperatures a little higher, and it stays mixed through next week with further rain and showers at times, temperatures near average.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, of course. Well, despite being sacked from Cabinet just last month, Lucy Powell beat Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson by nearly 14,000 votes to become the new Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, following Angela Rayner's tax scandal and resignation, of course. Well, Lucy Powell was sacked from the Cabinet in May after saying this about the grooming gang scandal.
I don't know whether you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
And here is what she said when she was asked if she could really bring about change from outside the Cabinet.
I'm really determined to. We need to make changes to the party about how we're working, be more inclusive, be more in touch with that national conversation through our members, through our elected representatives, and I think we can do that much more strongly. But I'm also absolutely determined to join with Keir Starmer in this fight of our lives that we now face, to defeat the politics of hate and division and to reunite the country around our progressive values.
Oh, do you think a new deputy leader, especially one not even in the cabinet, can make any real change to an embattled Prime Minister and this Labour Party? Well, I'm joined by my panel now. Former Labour advisor Paul Richards is going to give us a scoop. Former Met Police Detective Peter Bleksley and political commentator Lauren McEvitt. Lauren, you know, being a SPAD, you know, I will come to you first because, of course, the Tories saw many reshuffles.
Absolutely.
How does one who is not in the cabinet make any impact on the country?
So let's be really clear for a minute here. This is a position that exists only within the unique setup of the Labour Party. This is a Labour Party position, the deputy leader of the party, not the government. There is no indication she's being made Deputy Prime Minister. That's still David Lammy. She is, as I understand it, been invited to attend political cabinet, but not actual cabinet. The issue here for the Labour Party is how the Prime Minister deals with someone who, frankly, it sounded like was fired for the cause of being inept from the cabinet not very long ago, who's now in a very senior position within the Labour Party hierarchy and gets to hold him to account fairly regularly. And she's indicating, you know, we're in the, the Labour Party's in the fight of their lives here. They've got a stonking great majority and 4 years left to run. How are they in a fight? How are they in a crouch? It's because their leadership is pants, and it doesn't look like appointing Lucy Powell is going to make any difference to that.
Yeah, I'll kind of echoing a little bit what Lauren said there, Paul, because it seems to me, and I get this feeling from this government, that they're in like the final years the Tories were in before they started ripping each other apart. I mean, Lucy Powell is basically Team Burnham, isn't she? Keir Starmer only sacked her a month ago, and he's out writing tweets today praising her, welcoming her. I mean, does anything ever last with Keir Starmer? Anything he says?
Well, like Lauren says, this is a Labour Party position. I mean, it's a Labour Party position for deputy in an election that nobody wanted, and 80% plus of the people who could have voted didn't even bother to vote. So it's not going to set the house on fire. She's not in the cabinet, and she's got to invent the role because there's no job description associated with this. The last time we had a deputy leader who wasn't in the government is George Brown, not Gordon Brown, George Brown. I'm going back 50 years. He was a hopeless drunk, and Wilson said, "You're not coming anywhere near the government."
Well, I suppose
and
that's
that
an
was
option for her.
So I think that she's got to try and make the role her own. I mean, my advice to her would be, you know, if she wants to be a campaigner, we've got some elections coming up in May. Be the campaigner in chief, not the critic in chief.
That'll be
the campaigner in chief.
That'll be a great way to salvage her reputation. Is make yourself the the poster child for the Labour Welsh election next year, which they are going to tank down the S-bend.
Well, actually, I think we should talk
Fantastic.
about the Labour defeat, the seismic defeat in Wales, Peter, because they've held that seat, I think, for 107 years. What's your take on it?
Can I please just chip in about Lucy Powell?
Of course you can, mate. Yeah, anything. Yeah, go for it.
I was talking to another Labour insider this morning. I do it so you don't have to, right?
Go on, then.
And it wasn't Paul, OK? And the news had just come in of her election. And so, of course, I scoffed and growled and whatever, because I really, really don't like her. And he turned around and said, actually, she's quite nice. Trouble is, she just says stupid things. And I said, well, if she says stupid things, doesn't that make her a stupid person? And why should she be elected? Anyway, on that, yeah, Kev Philly? Well, I think the question is not have reform stalled. I think it's how further can Labour fall.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be the big story because, of course, you know, many media outlets and commentators saying this was disastrous for reform, but they got a 34% swing. The Tories lost their deposit. The major three parties, the Liberal Democrats, Labour, and everyone else, were completely wiped out. What's your take on it, Lauren, being a Welsh woman?
So let's be really clear. I'm an expert in Welsh politics,
not
actually Welsh.
Yes, you're right.
So the Lib Dems have never really been players in this particular part of Wales. To be fair, the Conservatives haven't really been either. They were on 4,000 votes or so last time. That they've been knocked down by about 4,000 to 600 or so. This has always been very much a Labour heartland, Plaid with a very, very strong base there. Plaid had 8,000 votes last time. So this is a very interesting election because it's the last named election to the Senedd. Next May, everyone is going to be elected on a closed list mechanism through the proportional representation system. Historically, Nigel Farage has been a bigger fan of d'Hondt and proportional representation than he has been of first past the post. I think that Reform probably inside are licking their wounds and saying, well, we got another beating on a first past the post system, and next maybe you don't have that anymore.
And that's interesting, Paul, isn't it? Because even if they changed the voting system, if Labour replicated that result, they would be toast, yeah.
Well, it was a terrible, terrible result for Labour. It was disastrous for the Tories, who got 2%. I mean, they are supposed to be the official opposition nationally, at least not in Wales, but nationally. Reform did not have a good night. I mean, you know, they did well from a very low base, but they were on to win it. And everyone, all the pundits were saying, oh, Reform were going to win. And the national opinion polls would suggest that. And what happened was people voted tactically. There was a lot of tactical voting to stop Reform, and the vote went to Plaid, and they got it over the line. But that will be replicated in spades when you've got proportional representation. So actually people will be even more likely to vote tactically. So it's not a shoo-in next May at all.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, but we will be talking more about this, I'm sure, in the papers and other parts of the show tonight anyway, because also coming up, a manhunt is still underway for the migrant sex predator Hadoush Kabata. Can you believe it? But next. Big protests in London. UKIP were out today. I'll be joined by a journalist who got in with the action and exclusive footage. See you in a tick.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight. Well, earlier today, supporters of the UKIP party marched from Kensington towards Marble Arch. Well, they weren't meant to be there, but this comes after police blocked their planned rally in Whitechapel. While under heavy police watch, protesters carried crosses and banners reading "Islamist invaders not welcome in Britain," chanting "Send them home and save our nation." UKIP leader Nick Tenconi addressed the crowd, calling for deportations and denouncing illegals and communists. Meanwhile, in Whitechapel, masked Muslim youths gathered to defend their community, as they call it, vowing to stand firm against what they call a far-right crusade. I'm now joined by independent journalist Jack Hadfield, as well as my panel. Jack, what was the atmosphere like? You were in Kensington, weren't you? What was the atmosphere like there?
Yeah, it was a relatively small protest from UKIP. I'd say just around 100 people. In fact, there are a lot more media, snappers, streamers, independent journalists like myself who are out there to cover the rally, probably as they wanted to cover the story, but not necessarily go to Whitechapel, where they're more likely to perhaps be more fiery incidents, as I know that the leftists are more likely to start getting up in your face than I've seen with people like UKIP. So yeah, it was a relatively small, pretty peaceful march down from the Brompton Oratory down to Hyde Park Corner, then up to Marble Arch as well. They had a number of calls. They were calling for mass deportations. They had they mentioned about the release of Wayne O'Rourke, who obviously tweeted something after Southport against digital IDs. So they had a whole sort of policy platform that they were mentioning here, again chanting at Nick Tenconi, chanting about against communism and all sorts. But yeah, relatively peaceful march. Few instances where I saw a few counter-protesters being moved away from the crowd by police, but overall, yeah, relatively peaceful.
And they had to separate the two groups, of course, obviously the police, because they were worried, and they obviously stopped the protest originally planned in Whitechapel. Now, I've seen footage of what was going on in Whitechapel. Equally horrified by it, because there's a bunch of lads all masked up. Do you think the police made the right decision by splitting them up?
I do think they do. I do think they did, for sure. Like, if UKIP had gone to Whitechapel, a lot of the people who cover these protests were expecting it to get very fiery. The thing is, outside that area, between the Tower Hamlets Town Council and Tube Station, it's a very narrow street. I was there, as you were, at the Pink Ladies protest just a few weeks ago, and again, the counter-protesters were there, and that was it's a very narrow section of that. And I know there are people from the local sort of Muslim communities who came out today. I'm sure if UKIP had turned out, it would have not been very good for anybody.
Yeah, Peter, I'll bring it over to you on this, because I want to get your take as the next copy yourself. As a detective, I beg your pardon, did the police make the right call here by separating the two groups up? Because there was a lot of people saying, actually, this was bad, this was not good for democracy and freedom of speech.
Yeah, the police want to facilitate protests, of course. It's cornerstone of our democracy. But there's a really simple answer here that could free up police resources and get a lot of money in. Hire Wembley Stadium, let 200 people from each group, pro-Palestinian, Antifa, UKIP, this, that and the other, right? Just get them all on the pitch and let them have a huge, great tear-up while we sit in the stands with a pint and a hot dog. What fun that would be.
But you know what? I actually quite like that.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would too. It's like a new Colosseum, isn't it? Like a new Rome. I love it. Great idea. I'll see if we can put in a good word.
Come on,
Peter. I don't think we'll get very far, but we can try. Anyway, but we're not encouraging violence, because we're just having a bit of a laugh.
Was that legal on the phone there?
Yes. The manhunt continues for migrant sex offender Hadush Kabati. He's still about, isn't he? This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GBNews. I'll be digging into all of that and loads more on the shore. I wonder what breaking news we'll have for you. Let's get you weather first.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's been chilly for many of us today, a cold northerly wind, and it generally stays that way tonight. And then we see cloud and rain moving in from the northwest through tomorrow. Looking at the bigger picture, low pressure sat to our east, high pressure to our west, a northerly flow bringing frequent showers to many of us. This evening, we can see them pushing southwards across England and Wales, clearing skies, though, behind it. So it turns quite chilly across central and northern parts of the UK overnight. But blustery around the coasts with further showers. Temperatures here 4 or 5 Celsius, but are getting close to freezing in the countryside across northern England, southern Scotland, where the winds will be lightest. But it does mean a bright start, particularly across England and Wales first thing. But Scotland's seeing the cloud move in as the weather system approaches in the west. Outbreaks of patchy rain. Showers still on a brisk northerly flow down the eastern side of Scotland. Clouding over across Northern Ireland. Sunday morning, rain arriving here. Showers still for western parts of Wales and England. But central and eastern parts of England are chilly but sunny start to the day. Any frost patches soon clearing. And then slowly through the morning, we'll see the cloud and rain push its way slowly southeastwards, introducing the rain into the Midlands by lunchtime. Southeast England holding on to the sunshine for longest, but clouding over here through the afternoon and patchy rain arriving later. The wind still coming in from the northwest, so fairly chilly day. Temperatures 9 to 12 Celsius for most of us. And with the lack of sunshine, it will be fairly chilly. That pushes away as we go into Monday, and then showers follow, so a showery day on Monday. The wind's still coming in from a northwesterly direction. Further outbreaks of rain likely across western areas, but in between there will be some sunny spells trying to develop and temperatures a little higher, and it stays mixed through next week with further rain and showers at times, temperatures near average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Well, good evening. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight,
it is an absolute disgrace that this incompetent Labour government has allowed this dangerous man out onto our streets, and this evening he is posing a risk to children.
And it's migrant manhunt madness, isn't it? As women across London will be looking over their shoulder tonight. How on earth is sexual predator Hadush Kabatu still on the run? Also... Yes, reform-led Nottinghamshire County Council is set to spend 75 grand on 164 new flag installations across several locations in the county. We'll be asking if this is a good use of taxpayer money. Also...
failures that happened then are still happening now.
Now, that was Maggie Oliver speaking last year, and it seems she is still right, as the Met Police have chillingly reopened 9,000 potential rape gang cases in London. Well, this comes the same week that Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, was accused of an industrial-scale cover-up of the epidemic in our capital. I'm going to reveal all. And tomorrow's papers on the front page of the Mail. Is Rachel Reeves about to take even more of your money? When will this end? And joining me tonight to discuss all of this, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, and political commentator Lauren McEvitt. And what on earth is going on here? Right, your Saturday night is just getting started, but let's get your news with Aaron Armstrong first.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening to you. 10:10 in the GB newsroom. The Metropolitan Police is urging a migrant sex offender to turn himself in, having been mistakenly released from prison on Friday. Hadush Kabatu boarded a train from Chelmsford to Stratford yesterday and remains at large. Prison sources say he was directed to the station by staff and he seemed to be confused by his release. Met Police Commander James Conway says he made a number of further train journeys in London and has access to funds.
I'm also making a direct appeal to Mr. Kabatu himself. We want to locate you in a safe and controlled way.
Well, he was freed after being convicted of the assault of a woman and a 14-year-old girl while living at the Bell Hotel in Epping, which sparked nationwide protests. The MP for Chelmsford, Marie Goldman, is calling for a public inquiry.
It shouldn't even be possible to blame just one person for the accidental release of a prisoner. It should be a full system that's in place to make sure that doesn't happen. It shouldn't be possible for this, 262 people released early by mistake, over the course of the past year or so. That is completely unacceptable, and it is an example of a system that is totally broken. So yes, there are things that we need to put in place straight away, but we also need to understand exactly what went wrong here.
The newly elected deputy leader of the Labour Party says division and hate are on the rise, and she's vowed to stand alongside the Prime Minister to win the fight. Lucy Powell won 54% of the vote to beat the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson just weeks after being sacked from Sir Keir Starmer's cabinet. She replaces Angela Rayner, who stepped down over her tax affairs last month. Lucy Powell says Labour must get its message back.
We have to offer hope, to offer the big change the country's crying out for. We must give a stronger sense of our purpose, whose side we're on, and of our Labour values and beliefs. That's what I've heard loudly and clearly around the country these last few weeks. As deputy, my job will be to bring those voices to the heart of our party.
The Metropolitan Police says it's reviewing 9,000 cases of child sexual exploitation over a 15-year period to 2015. The force says it's reinvestigating cases which don't fit the common understanding of a grooming gang. It follows a national review in June into group-based child sexual exploitation, which found it was more widespread, organised and underreported than previously acknowledged. The independent candidate Catherine Connolly has been declared the 10th President of Ireland after a landslide election victory.
I hereby declare Catherine Connolly elected to the office of President of Ireland.
Well, she won 63% of the vote, more than double that of the government candidate Heather Humphreys, who had already conceded to her rival. The 68-year-old, who was backed by an alliance of left-wing opposition parties, enjoyed the support of many younger voters. She'll replace Michael D. Higgins, who's held the largely ceremonial role since 2011 and has vowed to be a voice for peace during her presidency, which runs for 7 years.
I will be an inclusive president for all of you, and I regard it as an absolute honour, the vote I have been given, and I will represent you nationally and internationally to the best of my ability and as professionally and as humanely as possible. The
first illicit factory for weight loss jabs has been discovered in the UK and dismantled. Drugs worth £250,000 were seized from the facility in Northampton. Police say tens of thousands of empty injector pens, raw chemical ingredients and large amounts of cash were found during a 2-day trial. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says the setup was shameless and dangerous and has warned people not to buy weight loss injections from unregulated sources. And parents are being urged to vaccinate their children against flu over half-term, as health officials are warning the virus can spread like wildfire. England's Chief Nursing Officer Duncan Burton says flus come early this year with a worrying rise in children. Pop-up clinics will be set up at fire stations and bowling alleys, along with local pharmacies. That's where children can get the jab. That's it for the moment. I'll be back with more at 11.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Welcome back, everybody. And do you know what? I'm pretty sick of having to sit at this desk and report to you, the hard-working, law-abiding citizens of this country, about how broken our system really is. The latest humiliation is, of course, the illegal migrant paedophile from Ethiopia, Hadush Kabatu, who has been accidentally released from prison and is now at large in London. Well, the Metropolitan Police is urging the convicted sex offender to turn himself in. Met Police Commander James Conway updated the public earlier.
I'm also making a direct appeal to Mr. Kabatu himself. We want to locate you in a safe and controlled way. You had already indicated a desire to return to Ethiopia when speaking to immigration staff. The best outcome for you is to make contact directly with us by either calling 999 or reporting yourself to a police station. We would ask any member of the public who sees Mr. Kabatu to call 999 immediately.
It's just a joke, isn't it? It's a complete joke, and I'm just furious about this. I can't believe this has been allowed to happen. The search for Kabatu began at 12:57 BST on Friday after Essex police were alerted to a prison release error. And by then, he'd boarded a London-bound train from Chelmsford, arriving at Stratford at 12 minutes past 1. Well, video evidence placed him in Chelmsford after his mistaken release, and the Met Police now led the manhunt with strong confidence that he remains in the London area. Well, Kabatu, who is now sucking up hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of police time, should have been on a flight back to Ethiopia, shouldn't he, with the rest of these illegals months ago. But instead, we've been housing him here in our already overflowing prisons. Also, we can appease the extreme radicals on the far left who don't believe in borders. And many of them, I'm telling you this, will think this man should be allowed to stay here despite his sick crimes. We've all seen it. And tonight, young women, uni students and others will be getting ready to go out and enjoy themselves across London. I would be terrified to be a parent of one of those women tonight. And I can't even fathom the fear, the trauma this must be causing for the child he sexually abused. Her parents must be absolutely furious. I would be. Now, women across London and Essex are going to have to look over their shoulder because our incompetent government let this sexual predator back out. This is a government-run institution. Let's not forget it. It is part of the government apparatus. This man should not only never have been here in the first place, frankly, but He should have at least been on the first flight out of this country when he was arrested and warned. If he ever stepped in this country ever again, he'd face the gallows. That is the only hard justice that is going to deter these criminals from ever coming back to Britain and committing a feral crime like that one. Well, I think, like you, my patience is at an end. I'm done giving chances to failed politicians and governments who are, at this point, willfully putting the lives and the safety of citizens in this country at risk, putting them at the back of the housing queue, putting them at the back of the NHS queue, and putting illegal foreign criminals at the front.
We are going to drive down migration, both legal and illegal. That will only be done with a serious plan. The only way to make it work is to smash the gangs that are running the vile trade.
It's not working. It's not working, though, is it, Keir? It's just not working. The buck has to stop with the Prime Minister. His smash the gangs farce has completely and abysmally failed. His deportations agreement with France has failed. He has no plan to remove these men from our country, has he? For every single illegal criminal that arrives here and commits a crime, well, I think that is now all on Keir Starmer's hands. And some breaking news. Met police officers have now confirmed that migrant Hadush Kabatu was last seen shortly before 8 p.m. on Friday evening in the Dalston area of Hackney, London. He was still wearing his prison-issue grey tracksuit, top and bottoms, but is now carrying his belongings in a distinctive white bag with pictures of avocados on it. Just can't make it up, can you? Additional officers have been deployed to the area to carry out further searches, but we are appealing for the help of local residents to report any sightings possible, the police say. We'll have more of those CCTV and pictures to show you shortly. I'll just read the top of that breaking news for you again. Met police officers have now confirmed that migrant Hadush Kabatu was last seen shortly before 8 p.m. on Friday evening in the Dalston area of Hackney in London. He was still wearing his prison-issue grey tracksuit, top and bottoms, but is now carrying his belongings in a distinctive white bag with pictures of avocados on it. OK, well, let's get the thoughts on this story with my panel, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley and political commentator Lauren McEvitt. Peter, I'd like to start with you because I think it would be very useful for our audience to know what goes in to an investigation, a manhunt like this.
Yes, but first of all, I have to say something extremely important, if I may.
Please.
This case, regrettably, has overshadowed the fact that yesterday an illegal immigrant who came here from Sudan on a boat was convicted of murdering 27-year-old gorgeous Rhiannon White. Rest her soul. Kabatu, like Majek from yesterday, came here on rubber dinghies. These people are flooding into our country and they are now, as we can confirm, murdering British citizens, sexually assaulting British children, entering the illegal tobacco industry, illegally working as delivery drivers and the such like. This is an utter scandal. Shame on Paul's lot. Smash the gangs. What a pathetic slogan that they failed on. And as for Lauren and her pathetic government that didn't stop the boats, they have a huge share of responsibility about this global embarrassment for our country, putting our people at danger. Sorry to now answer your question, only now, OK? Huge police resources to try and rescue this embarrassment. I quite think it was pathetic to see that police officer almost begging Kabatu to hand himself in. Where's the robustness? Where's the language like, we're coming for you, we're going to find you, so best you hand yourself in first? Of course, if he tries to hand himself at a police station, he'll have to walk so far, he'll probably die of dehydration or starvation.
Well, yeah, because we've closed them all down, haven't we?
Correct.
Shut all the police stations
Correct.
down. Where would he hand himself into, frankly? It's completely bonkers. I mean, Paul, I appreciate that David Lammy's come out and said he's furious, but this is just not going to cut it. I mean, this is not going to cut it. This is an extreme embarrassment for the government. Had they just done what everyone had asked, even he, Hadush Kabatu, wanted to be deported, why did we just not kick him out of this country while we had the chance?
I can tell your script was written by a bloke, by the way, because women always have to...
Well, I write my own scripts. As we spoke about earlier, I write all of my own monologues on this channel.
Because women always have to look over their shoulders regardless. I mean, that is true. true. I don't agree with you on the death penalty. I don't think that would have any deterrent effect in this case at all, so I don't believe that's a good idea at all. I think it makes criminals behave worse if they think they're going to be, you know, hung anyway. David Lammy, I'm pretty sure he will have considered his position over this because it is a weapons-grade fiasco. He's not personally responsible for letting this guy go. That would have been some operational level, but, you know, the buck does stop. However, I do think that the Met are going to get this guy because there's so much surveillance now. I mean, the fact we've got these almost blow-by-blow accounts of his movements, I think he will be caught, and the best thing then is for him to be kicked out as fast as possible.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I think Peter's right to say, Lauren, the Tories hold a lot of responsibility for this because the prison system is completely broken. They did not build any prison spaces, and that is an unfortunate position for them to be in, because when we look at this case here, well, had they done a good enough job of building prisons and you know, propping up our prison services, we might not be in this position today.
It's true, and I'm in the category of Tory who firmly believes that of the £164 million we sent to Ethiopia in 2023, we should be deducting for the bill of every Ethiopian in our prison system. Unlike your monologue earlier, I don't think sending him back immediately is the right answer, because we have no control over our southern border. He would just come back and he would not be in prison, and a dangerous man would be on the streets. He should be locked up and possibly in the future sent back to Ethiopia at the point at which we are sure that he cannot get back into this country again and present a danger. Paul's right, though. This isn't a new ground for women looking over their shoulder in London.
No, I certainly not.
Just because Paul's yelled at my party's background, let's yell at the Met for that, shall we?
Well, I would say this, that because I appreciate...
Excuse me,
women...
Theresa May stripped 20,000 jobs out of policing. She ruined policing. So many of the problems with current policing is firmly at her doorstep.
And hiring rapists didn't help you either, did it?
What a thing to say, right? And because vetting, standards, recruitment and all of that fell through the floor because of the wicked budget cuts that your pathetic government imposed upon policing.
Which had to be faced by all departments because, frankly, of what his party had done in government before we got in.
Your pathetic government made the streets of Britain more dangerous.
Your police did nothing to help.
There is clearly blame across the political spectrum here. And I don't think there's any one government responsible. I don't think it's this Labour government purely responsible. I don't think it's the last Tory government purely responsible. I think there's probably 3 or 4 different governments of different colours, all responsible for the chaos this country is in today. What I think is really difficult for people to stomach, and I hear what you're saying, women do have to look over their shoulder, not just in London, around the country now, by the way. I think it's disgusting, the state of our streets in this country, but especially now. And I think more, and of course I think of the women tonight who might just be even more careful than they normally would be because this man's on the loose and he's clearly here in the capital. But I think about the victims as well, Peter. I think about the sexual abuse that trauma he would have put onto that poor child and their parents, who must be thinking, God, I wish this man would be gone out of my life, because that poor child must have heard the news.
And part of the healing process for them may have been the fact that he was captured, charged, convicted and incarcerated. All of that could quite easily be undone now by the fact that he is at large on the streets of London. But the concerning factor for me is that report this evening that it was 8 p.m. last night means that actually the crumbs, the trail, has got longer. They're now 26 hours behind him, and that's deeply concerning.
And something else just occurs to me is, how did this happen in the first place? I mean, what is the process whereby someone is released like this? You know, are we completely ruling out the idea that there might have been a bribe or some sort of inside job or what? Because
we know
it's so anomalous, isn't it? It's so bizarre that someone can simply be...
Lord Timpson, the prisons minister, has he been sacked?
Well, no.
Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, who was previously the Justice Minister. No. Let's fire an underling, because that's how the establishment and all those people in their places on high do things. Sack an underling.
How did it happen? I mean, how is this situation allowed to arise? Because if we don't understand that, it's going to happen again, isn't it?
And how is he in his prison tracksuit? Because if you're formally released from prison...
Unfortunately, they all look like them.
No.
Grey tracksuits in Dalston is not unique, I'm afraid.
When you're formally released from prison, you're released in what you came into prison wearing.
Listen, I don't have all the answers to that. Or what I can see, which I think is exceptionally embarrassing for this country, is that he went back to the prison. He waited there 90 minutes because even he was confused. And the prison guards told him to go away. They sent him away, pointed him to a train station. Can you believe it? That is how incompetent it is. An eyewitness, a taxi driver, allegedly told reporters this, that he spotted him standing outside the prison. This country is an utter joke. It's not like this man's face hasn't been plastered all over front pages, all over the TV. Surely the people in the prison must have known who he was. I just can't fathom this is one of the biggest, most insane...
It's a scandal.
It's a scandal.
It's an absolute
complete
scandal
of a man who did something so heinous and feral to children in this country. It's something about it has enraged the public, and I know many of you will be angry at home.
And don't forget Rhiannon White, rest her soul.
Absolutely. I want to actually, thank you for reminding me of that, Peter, because that is a very important story, and we will talk about that story. I'll give you my word on that, Peter. We will talk about it, all right? I just want to get a rise of reply from the Home Office here. A spokesperson said this. I think we might have a wrong right of reply there. We will get to a right of reply as soon as we can, OK? But until then, time is ticking. I'm sure the government would deny this as a scandal and they're doing their best to get everything done. But the time is ticking. Your chance to get our biggest prize of the year, current Great British giveaway. Just 1 week left to enter. You could drive away with a brand new motorhome and 30k in tax-free cash. Here's the details.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Someone is guaranteed to win our biggest prize to date, so make sure that winner could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, coming up, the front pages are very hot off the press, dropping as we speak, but next... Yeah, I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this at home. A reform-led Nottinghamshire County Council has defended its decision to spend 75k on 164 flags. Is it a good use of taxpayer money? This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Nana Acquia. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I think solo travel can be really enriching. I think it helps build so many different skills. You have to problem solve, navigate different social interactions. It can be great for building confidence, mental health, resilience, and the interactions you have with people tend to be richer when you're traveling on your own. So I'm all for it. I think it can can really help reset the mind and give you that confidence boost for sure.
70% of solo travellers are women. Why do you think that is?
I think in general, post-pandemic, we have seen people prioritising travel. I think because it was taken away from us and restricted for quite a long time, we've seen this general overall trend that people are prioritising travel, spending more on travel. And I think women in particular, in general, we do tend to get pulled in so many different directions. If you're a working mother and a partner, our lives are so hectic, and solo travel, I guess, for women just gives them a chance to have a little bit of a breather, have a little bit of an escape, recharge, and hopefully come back after their trip, in a healthier, more refreshed mindset.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. A reminder of that breaking news. Met police officers have now confirmed that migrant Hadush Kabatu was last seen shortly before 8 p.m. on Friday evening in the Dalston area of Hackney in London. He was still wearing his prison-issue grey tracksuit top and bottoms, but is now carrying his belongings in a distinctive white bag with pictures of avocados on it. Additional officers have been deployed to the area to carry out further searches, but the police are appealing for the help of local residents to report any sightings as soon as possible. You can see those images now on your screen. Those are the most up-to-date pictures we do have of Hadush Kabatu. OK, we'll bring you that more on that story as it evolves. We may have more information later on, who knows. Moving on, though, a reform-led Nottinghamshire County Council is set to spend 75 grand on 164 new flag installations across several locations in the county. But this decision is facing criticism from Labour and Conservative councillors who argue the money should be spent on essential services like filling potholes or youth clubs, and that it's directly contradicting Reform UK's promise to cut wasteful spending. Council leader Mike Barton defended the cost and said the funds will come from existing efficiencies. Joining us now is Media Campaign Manager at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood. William, thank you very much for joining me. What do you make of this story? Of course, Reform have been in the press a couple of times now about some of their spending arrangements. What do you make of this one?
Well, good evening, Alex, and thank you so much for having me on the show. First of all, I'd just like to dispel one of the criticisms that the Labour councillor made towards this, that Union flags and St George's flags cause division. I think that's arrant nonsense, to be quite frank with you. I think the fact that people are putting flags out in their front gardens and in their front lawns is a fantastic thing, and I'm very happy to see that. Although I do have a slight issue with this. £75,000 may not sound like a lot of money, but to a local council it is, especially when Nottinghamshire County Council itself has a £30 million deficit in its special needs budget and is currently going to spend an extra £500,000 to keep the two county council offices HQs running, despite the fact that the previous Conservative administration wanted to get rid of it and save upwards of £1.7 million. So I think that a lot of local council taxpayers might see, I'm in favour of St George's flags and Union flags going up, but do I really want to be paying more council tax in order for this to happen?
Yeah, I think that will be the key question for locals in the area. Of course, we have seen this Operation Raise the Colours be spoke about very, very broadly across the political spectrum and online. Many people love it, many people hate it. But surely many people might want to praise Reform for this, because where we have seen some councils go quite against the British flag, we've seen places like Tower Hamlets ripping them down. Perhaps it's quite a nice, welcome change for the British public to see a council doing the exact opposite of that for a change.
Well, I just as I don't think that the council should be spending money on this, I actually don't think council should be ripping down the flags of ordinary members of the public. I think that's quite disgraceful and actually shows that a lot of these people running these councils do have a distaste and a dislike for our country. But to talk more broadly, what you mentioned earlier, reforms been quite news for the spending plans, and you're quite right. I mean, Doge was set up by Reform, led originally by Zia Youssef, now Richard Tice, supposedly to go into local councils and look at all the waste and try and clear it all out. But actually, their Doge units only visited about 3 of the 12 councils they control, and Nottinghamshire, Alex, was actually not one of them. And there's been no signs of any real savings. I mean, 9 councils that Reform are currently in charge of are likely going to put council tax up by 4.9%, which is the amount they're legally allowed to put up without calling a referendum or going to the relevant Secretary of State. So, I mean, we at the Taxpayers Alliance warned about this to begin with. We were in favour of going into local councils and clearing out waste. I mean, we do a lot of work on that all the time. But if something like this just appears to be a gimmick, then people will think, well, actually, I voted for Reform to get rid of council waste, and actually they seem to be doing virtually nothing about it, which is going to leave many people, including myself, Alex, actually quite disappointed.
OK, interesting stuff there. William Yarwood, thank you very much for joining, campaign manager at the Taxpayers Alliance. William Yarwood, thank you very much. I'd like to bring in my panel to have a little chat about this as well. Peter, I think you might have spent some money to find your own... oh, look, there we go.
I'm a very, very big fan of this unified flag which represents all the countries of the Union. I love it.
All 3 of them.
I love it, right? But I've just done a quick bit of mental maths, right? Is it 75 grand for 160 flags?
Correct. Yeah.
So what's that, 4,500 quid or something?
Like that, yeah.
Per flag? Well, if somebody wants to give me 4,500 quid for this, they're very welcome. It's lunacy. Come on. That's a lunacy.
What do you think about this, Paul?
Well, the thing that concerns me is that I'm pretty sure there's other ways you could spend that money that would be better than giving it to a Chinese, presumably, manufacturer, you know, where small children are making these flags and then having them shipped to Nottingham to fly in the streets of the council. I just think, why not spend it on some trees or some youth workers or something, you know, a nice bench in the park, something that people can enjoy.
So part of the spend on the flag will include the traffic management department and cherry picker to get them up, so all those things. So maybe not the exact cost of the flag would be that amount. So there's
waste of
obviously
money.
all the space that goes into it. What do you think of it, Lauren?
What a waste.
Well, I'd like to correct Peter over there. That's there's 3 countries on that flag, not 4. Wales isn't represented on that. I would like to see a big...
I stand corrected. When Theresa May called the Tory party the nasty party, was she basing it on you?
No, but I think...
Surprising.
I think it's important to talk about the fact that only 3 countries are represented on that flag. And I think...
would you not have them up other part? Like, would you think the Welsh have right to not have the Union flag up?
I don't think that they're right not to. I think that we should be having a conversation about putting a massive dragon in the middle of that one.
Oh, I think the dragon would be quite a cool addition if we did change the flag.
It'd be hard as nails.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's probably better things that they could spend the money on. But that being said, most councils will have a kind of a town centre beautification budget for flower pots and, you know, doing the weeding. And if this falls into that budget, then I think it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I love it. Whilst I do think that the spend is a little bit exuberant, I am quite a patriotic person, and I don't think we see enough Union flags across the country. Whether you may be like Lauren and may not like the flag.
I like it enormously.
Yes,
I think it just should be approved.
Yes, adapted in some way. I still think it's a great idea. I would love to... I'm sick of seeing Palestine flags everywhere. Like, I'm a Londoner, and all I see is Palestine flags. That's it. I'm bored of it. Anyway, Councillor Barton has said that the money has come from efficiencies that we've already made, adding that there have been no cuts of services to fund the 75k. Well, there you have it. Well, coming up, what's going on here, eh? Thankfully, I've got a detective on the panel, so we might be able to solve it. But next, it's time for tomorrow's front pages. And on The Independent, Rachel Reeves faces pressure to increase income tax for highest earners. Oh, dearie, dearie me. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's the start of half-term for many of us, but I'm afraid there's showers and some longer spells of rain in the forecast, particularly across parts of Iberia and southeastern Europe. Portugal and Spain could see some showers as we head through into Sunday. These could be heavy, possibly thundery. A mix of sunshine and showers elsewhere across northern parts of Europe, but it is going to be feeling much cooler than of late. Some brighter spells across southern parts of France, northern Europe, but elsewhere it is going to remain unsettled. More sunshine into next week, as well as some warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's been chilly for many of us today, a cold northerly wind, and it generally stays that way tonight. And then we see cloud and rain moving in from the northwest through tomorrow. Looking at the bigger picture, low pressure sat to our east, high pressure to our west, a northerly flow bringing frequent showers to many of us. This evening, we can see them pushing southwards across England and Wales, clearing skies though behind it. So it turns quite chilly across central and northern parts of the UK overnight, but blustery around the coasts with further showers. Temperatures here 4 or 5 Celsius, but are getting close to freezing in the countryside across northern England, southern Scotland, where the winds will be lightest. But it does mean a bright start, particularly across England and Wales first thing, but Scotland seeing the cloud move in as the weather system approaches in the west, outbreaks of patchy rain, showers still on a brisk northerly flow down the eastern side of Scotland, clouding over across Northern Ireland, Sunday morning rain arriving here, showers still for western parts of Wales and England, but central and eastern parts of England a chilly but sunny start to the day, any frost patches soon clearing. And then slowly through the morning, we'll see the cloud and rain push its way slowly southeastwards, introducing the rain into the Midlands by lunchtime. Southeast England holding on to the sunshine for longest, but clouding over here through the afternoon and patchy rain arriving later. The wind still coming in from the northwest, so fairly chilly day, temperatures 9 to 12 Celsius for most of us. And with the lack of sunshine, it will be fairly chilly. That pushes away as we go into Monday, and then showers follow, so a showery day on Monday. The wind's still coming in from a northwesterly direction. Further outbreaks of rain likely across western areas, but in between there will be some sunny spells trying to develop and temperatures a little higher, and it stays mixed through next week with further rain and showers at times, temperatures near average.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News. I have your front pages hot off the press. Let's start together, shall we? The Independent. Mistakenly released migrant sex offender returned to prison reception up to 5 times. What a ridiculous state of affairs we are in. The Mail on Sunday. Rachel Reeves is plotting mansion tax raid on homes. And the Sunday Express. 90% of councils to house migrants by the end of the year. The Sunday Telegraph, Starmer told to bin workers' rights. The Sunday Times, Andrew faces humiliation in the Commons. And the Daily Mirror, Stephen Fry nearly died after cocaine binge. And on the front page of gbnews.com tonight, Epping migrant sex attacker spotted 5 miles from last known location as police narrows search. All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Former Labour advisor Paul Richards, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, and political commentator Laura McEvitt. Where shall we start, Because there's 2 tax stories floating around today. Perhaps we should start with the latest tax story on the front page of the Mail, because we've heard about the potential income tax rise. We will come back to it. But the Mail are saying this: new class war bombshell. Reeves is plotting a mansion tax raid on homes, and I believe it's any properties worth more than £2 million. They would face a 1% charge of the amount by which the property exceeds the value, meaning that owners of a £3 million property would face a bill of £10,000 every year. That is the front page of the Daily Mail. Lauren.
I think the disappointing thing about a proposal like this is that what it prevents the government from doing realistically is committing to a revaluation for the purposes of increasing council tax within England. We haven't had a revaluation since the 90s. Wales have done one slightly more recently, but it is important because people are not paying enough for council tax services. Enough people are not actually receiving council tax services because only about 10% of council tax payers are using adult social care and education services. So I think that this, were it to be implemented, would be an easy, immediate win that would see a real dip to the property market, but also would prevent them from undertaking the actual tax reform that's required, which is a revaluation for the purposes of council tax.
Yeah, Paul, many people will be scratching their heads because, of course, places like London, house prices have inflated dramatically. And the houses that would have been worth maybe £500,000 a few 10, 15 years ago might be in this bracket now and considered a mansion home.
Yeah, I mean, mansion is the wrong word to use, isn't it? Because, like you say, there are family homes in bits of London that are worth a lot more than £2 million. I know it sounds balmy, but it's true. I mean, the reevaluation of properties that hasn't happened since the 90s. There's a reason it hasn't happened since the 90s. It is what we call in politics a third rail, isn't it? Which is you touch it and you die. No government's going to want to do it. I mean,
but you're going to die anyway. So.
Some government is going to have to grasp that at some point. But anyway, the caveat with all of these stories about tax ahead of a budget, of course, it's kite flying, it's testing the ideas out. It's
basically the Treasury
just a little bit of
ideas, isn't
just trying things out, and all of it has to be done, looked at with an enormous pinch of salt.
All right, Peter.
I'll have to take in a few lodgers to pay this tax, won't I? Obviously, you know, living in the multi-million-pound house that I do. I wish. Again, you see, taxing the rich. People who own these homes will be paying fortunes in income tax. They're probably running businesses, employing people, really contributing to this faltering economy, and now you're going to clobber them again. Not a good idea.
Well, or there are older people in homes who won't be able to afford to pay the tax, but also won't be able to afford to pay a stamp duty rate to downsize particularly well into anything like the area that they're currently living in.
And you were talking about council tax, because we will come on to this story on the front page of the Sunday Express shortly, because they are claiming 90% of councils will house migrants by the end of the year. And if many people aren't actually getting value out of their council tax, they'll be wondering, am I paying for someone else to have a nice free home? Because I tell you what, I'd love to have a free home if they're all going. Maybe I should just get on a boat and come back here. There's an inside story I want to bring you, actually. Reform MP Sarah Pochin is at the centre of a storm after saying it drove her mad seeing adverts full of black and Asian people. Ms Pochin has apologised, saying my comments on Talk TV, our phone-in earlier today, were phrased poorly, and I unreservedly apologise for any offence caused, which was not my intention. The point I was making is that many British TV adverts have gone DEI mad and are now unrepresentative of British society as a whole. Labour has got involved in this row. Take a look.
It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, you know, people that basically are anything
What's wrong
other
with that,
than
Sarah?
white.
And that is what we're up against on the right of politics. A politics of division and grievance that wants to take this great country to a very dark place.
Interesting stuff. I'd like to get the thoughts of my panel on this. I'll start with you, Lauren. What did you make of the storm? Is it a storm in a teacup? Is she just saying what people are thinking, maybe as she said, in a poorly phrased way, perhaps?
No, I think she said what she thought, and the apology that she gave indicates that she's apologised if it caused offence, which is, you know, I think one of the biggest cop-out apologies. The sort of cop-out apology language. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. I'm sorry for, you know, saying the thing that I said, which would be a better form of apology.
When people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Peter?
I sometimes think that there may be perhaps a disproportionate representation of minority faces in adverts, but I've never done any scientific research into it. What I do sometimes is I'll sit there standing on the platform waiting for the tube to come along, and I might see minority face, minority face, minority face, minority face, and not necessarily see a white face. But it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't make you mad, does it? She's saying you made her mad.
Exactly, it doesn't bother me. I just wonder whether it's part of the, the pendulum swinging of an over-representation.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting discussion, and I think the way that Sir Potion said it is not the words that I would use to describe that, because I think you've nailed it. I think there's an over-representation of people, and actually what sparked all this backlash, because people don't really care who they see on adverts, frankly. They do not care, but people are feeling like because of mass immigration, then actually they're losing control of their culture, of their way of life, they're losing control of the way things look and feel around them, and I think they feel that the change is so rapid that they're finding it difficult to digest it. And I think that TV adverts...
It's still the case that about 90% of the population is white,
No,
isn't it? I mean,
I certainly understand that, but I think there's a lot of places where that change has happened very rapidly.
Sure.
Parts of London, for example, very, very rapidly.
And I think that there's a misunderstanding sometimes of the political class of how that sentiment radiates out from London. So London looks very different to the way it did 50 years ago. The by-election we had in South Wales this week, a lot of the stuff that came out on the doorstep was about immigration, and a lot of the commentary from slightly more left-wing commentators was, 2.9% of the population of Caerphilly is from an immigrant background. Now, why do you care about this? As if someone from South Wales wouldn't care about what their country as a whole looks like, which is quite insulting.
Yes, exactly, because that is the issue. And obviously she's made her apology, and we'll let you know if there's any more on that story. But coming up, more of tomorrow's front pages and what's going on here, eh? Can you have a guess? Let me know, gbnews.com/yoursay. I will see you in just a tick with more front pages.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The entry-exit system, the so-called digital borders scheme. And the idea is that the European Union wants to know more about you. It wants to be absolutely sure that this is Dawn Neeson and this is her fingerprints and this is her facial biometric. So the first time you go to a European Union or wider Schengen area airport, that would include Norway, Switzerland, Iceland, you get in, you land, you then have to register your biometrics, fingerprints and face, and that gets tallied to your identity from your passport. And then that's just the start. You then go through the same old analog palaver where somebody comes along, has a look at your passport, checks you haven't spent too long there, gives you a stamp, and off you go. And that's exactly why we're getting warnings from the travel industry that it could actually hold you up for 4 hours, which would take the edge off the start of your holiday.
Sounds quite similar, Simon, to what happens when you go to America, where they will sort of ask you to do your fingerprints and sort of stare into a camera lens type things. Is that quite similar?
That's all to do with it when you get an ESTA. That's the permit you have to apply for. For this, you don't need to prepare anything. So don't worry, people. Just get on the plane or indeed get in your car and drive to Dover or wherever and just basically do what you're told. Having said that, fingerprints are very last century. Talking to the brainy people who do biometrics, they say your facial biometrics are so good that you don't need fingerprints, you don't need iris scanning. We know from your beautiful face that can only ever be Dawn Neeson.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. A reminder of that breaking news. The Met Police have now confirmed that migrant Hadush Kabatu was last seen shortly before 8 p.m. on Friday evening in the Dalston area of Hackney in London. We have some new pictures to show you here now from the latest from the police, at least. I believe the pictures are showing you Hadush Kabatu still dressed in his grey top and bottom trackies. He is apparently holding a very distinctive white bag with avocados on it. Of course, the police have said that they are exploring and looking around the Hackney area for Hadush Kabatu. It's possible he's moved on from this point. We don't know where, of course, where he is now. Any future updates on this, we will bring you more of them shortly. Here you can see the picture of the avocado bag. If you do spot him and you are around the area, or you see this distinctive white bag on a man matching his description, please get in touch with the police as a priority. Let's hope they can catch him sooner rather than later. All right. We'll get back onto your front pages here, because the Sunday Express are reporting that 90% of councils will house migrants by the end of the year. And you know, I've been speaking to a few people about this, Peter, because there are a lot of people in this country sitting on very large waiting lists for council houses. Very, very large. In some parts of London, it's 10 years to get a council house. And I think what this says to many people, and we had this discussion not that long ago about this mansion tax, because council tax is just simply not working anymore. We need to reform it. And then people aren't getting value out of that either. I think when you look at all these stories combined about how the government and councils are operating, I think, Peter, it says something about the priorities of our country.
What interests me about this front page is, what are the 10% of councils who are not getting migrants? Might it be Chipping Norton, for example, or other kind of places where the wealthy and the privileged and the powerful lay their heads at night? That's the story for me. Where is not getting migrants? Because the rest of us are all having to suffer them.
Well, it's really interesting here. Reading a little bit more into this article, almost 40,000 people, allegedly, of course, are set to be given taxpayer-funded homes in London, the east of England, south east England and south west England, as ministers ramp up efforts to close migrant hotels. In total, the Home Office needs to find dispersal accommodation for more than 66,000 asylum seekers. Lauren?
I think that, so this is sort of an extension of the Rishi Sunak administration policy of saying that people had to be dispersed around the country. They couldn't all be lumped into certain areas, because that was probably going to foment larger community tensions than if everybody tried to just kind of spread the burden around the country a little more. I come from Gloucestershire, which is out towards Chipping Norton, and I think that the councils out there are probably taking their fair burden. I think it's probably the Hebrides councils we're talking about, where people aren't being sent. Council services are enormously stretched. This is to try and take the burden off the hotel situation. Yeah. It's clearly untenable. But something has got to give in the ability to send people home, which has not been adequately addressed by this government. And until we are in the process of returning people at the same level as people are coming here, people are going to have to be housed somewhere. And all of this will do, realistically, is push voters towards reform and the parties who openly want to send more people home faster.
Yeah, it's a slap in the face, Paul, isn't it? This is the problem. It's a slap in the face. There are as many places that are taking in more than their fair share. I mean, would you be opposed to places that voted for parties that, you know, have pro-immigration values, getting all the migrants? Would you be opposed to that, Paul?
I don't think it should be linked to how people vote. It's a secret ballot for a start-off, so we don't know how people
we know what
vote.
constituencies vote for what, don't we?
This is a consequence, isn't it, of the failure of the system over decades, but also the hotels system, which...
The failure of the politicians. Don't call it a system. The politicians.
But putting them in
it's
hotels...
their failures.
Putting them in hotels is demonstrably failed as a policy, and that's what we're trying to fix now. What do you do? Well, Peter would put them all in camps.
Correct.
With snarling
razor wire
and snarling
Alsatians.
Right.
Correct. And a runway.
I would say let's
Alcatraz, I love it.
speed up the process of getting people out that shouldn't be here in the first place. But in the meantime, people have to live somewhere. So that's why we disperse.
We are going to talk more about this story because your say is going to be going nuts over this. I know how you're all going to feel about this. We all dig into it. I'll see if I can bring you some more information on it. So stay with me and a whole load of other news. I mean, where do you think Rachel Reeves is going to spend your taxes next? Because she's going to be putting them up, isn't she? Alex Armstrong tonight. Join us for the late edition. But first, let's get your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's been chilly for many of us today, a cold northerly wind, and it generally stays that way tonight. And then we see cloud and rain moving in from the northwest through tomorrow. Looking at the bigger picture, low pressure sat to our east, high pressure to our west, a northerly flow bringing frequent showers to many of us. This evening, we can see them pushing southwards across England and Wales, clearing skies, though, behind it. It turns quite chilly across central and northern parts of the UK overnight, but blustery around the coasts with further showers. Temperatures here 4 or 5 Celsius, but are getting close to freezing in the countryside across northern England, southern Scotland, where the winds will be lightest. But it does mean a bright start, particularly across England and Wales first thing, but Scotland seeing the cloud move in as the weather system approaches in the west, outbreaks of patchy rain, showers still on a brisk northerly flow down the eastern side of Scotland, clouding over across Northern Ireland, Sunday morning, rain arriving here, showers still for western parts of Wales and England, but central and eastern parts of England are chilly but sunny start to the day. Any frost patches soon clearing. And then slowly through the morning, we'll see the cloud and rain push its way slowly southeastwards, introducing the rain into the Midlands by lunchtime. Southeast England holding on to the sunshine for longest, but clouding over here.